In political economy, the word capital is much more precise than how it's used in daily conversation. Capital certainly involves money, people, and investment, but in a very specific process, and each of these things taken individually do not constitute capital. A circuit of money capital always starts with a sum of money. Say, an advance of $1 million to produce chairs. The person who has this money makes a purchase of means of production, which are all the materials necessary to start production. This could include leasing a building, the necessary machines, the electricity, and all the other materials that go into making chairs. For the sake of simplicity, let's say the cost of the raw materials, machines, buildings, etc. amounts to $500,000. This represents the constant capital, since they do not add any additional value to the output. Next, this capitalist must buy labor power, the ability of people to perform work. For our example, let's say that 10 people are hired and are paid an annual salary of $50,000 per year. These people sign a legal contract and agree to use their brains, muscles, and their productive facilities to produce chairs in return for their salary. At the end of a specified period of time, for our sake a year, the workers produce and sell the commodities for a sum of $1,500,000. It would seem that the initial value of $1 million grew to $1.5 million over the course of a year by itself. We know that the increase in value could not have come from the non-labor inputs to production, namely the constant capital. Sure, commodity traders can buy and sell products for more than they acquire them for and achieve a profit in that way. These people who make profits from reselling, including stock traders, commodity traders, merchants, and others, do not create new value, but rather reallocate existing value between different parties. A gain for a successful trader constitutes a loss for a competitor. In the aggregate, we cannot look at the means of production as creating additional value in production. They only transfer their values to the finished product. The wood, the glue, and the paint in a chair all transfer their value directly to the chair, which is the finished product. This is called circulating capital, since the elements pass all their value to the finished product as they are used up in production. Some means of production, such as machinery, actually decrease in value over time. We all know that this process is called depreciation. The machine has a fixed lifetime, say 10 years, and with every use it transfers a portion of its value to the finished product, in this scenario, a chair. The machine transfers a portion of the value to the finished product when it is used in production. Therefore, the machine can be replaced when it is worn down and loses its productive capability. This element of constant capital is called fixed capital. Once we eliminate fixed and circulating capital, what is left? The only thing left to examine is the labor power of the workers. The workers are creating $1 million in value, but are only being paid $500,000 in wages. If the workers are working a standard 8-hour day, then 4 of these hours are paid and 4 of them are unpaid. This is a perfectly reasonable explanation of where profit comes from. It is from the unpaid labor of the workers. When we look deeper into what capital is, we find something that may be disturbing to many. The expansion of value appropriated by the capitalist takes place at the expense of the workers. They are producing value that the capitalist pays absolutely nothing for. The self-expansion of capital is merely a form of exploitation that is masked by the exchange of commodities. Capitalists buy labor power and exploit the workers, which forms the material basis of profit, both in the form of money and in the form of commodities.